All right, and what is going on, everybody? Once again, you know what time it is. I am your boy, Soul of a Man 504, aka Mr. Demond Alverez, and welcome to Soulful Conversations, where we have the most amazing guests from around the world. So today is a very, very special episode. I have my cousin with me, my sister from another mister. So we're gonna chop up some real good game today, and Miss Quinnesha Alverez, I'm gonna let her introduce herself, and yeah.
Hi. Okay. So my name is Quinnesha Simone Alverez. I am, I guess what you call, I practice chaotic magic. I take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I make it my own. I have a apothecary and boutique called Of Earth and Water, where I create handcrafted 100% soy wax candles, crystal dream catchers, and altar tools, all aligned with either or both Reiki and Sacred Soul alignment. I am a certified Sacred Soul alignment healing modality practitioner and certified Reiki master. So I try to infuse a little bit of everything into all the crafts that I make, so that as they travel and reach whoever receives them, that they are powerful enough to assist with whatever you're trying to call in or keep away. So yeah, that's a little bit about my business.
So when you initially started out, and when you were like feeling all of these different energies and feeling like the calling, as I like to call it,
Mm-hmm.
were you like eventually, were you kind of like freaked out a little bit, like what on earth is going on?
A little bit, but not too much. The thing about me was that I've always had an ability that I would just, of course, repress. I grew up in a very strong Roman Catholic family, where there's just things that you just don't do. Things were always of the devil and of witchcraft, which was not which was not of a place of light. And then in my family, my grandmother was rumored to be a voodoo priestess. And of course, that was always something you just didn't talk about. So I knew I had these abilities. I didn't understand them. I can remember my first premonition, my first really clairvoyant episode was when my aunt passed away. I might have been maybe 10. And I just knew it was a clairvoyance. I just knew that I wouldn't see her again, and that time together had to be special, because this was it. This was all I was going to get. And I didn't really tell anybody about it. It didn't scare me. It didn't even occur to me to be afraid. I just knew. And so when it happened, I was just like, well, that's interesting, you know. But again, as a child, you don't really question things. You just kind of go with the flow of nature, I guess. It wasn't until I got older and I was able to actually feel spirits in my presence that I would really be afraid of it. And I did have the understanding of telling things to, you know, you're not welcome, go away, I don't want to see you. But it would frighten me a lot. It would really, really frighten me to be able to understand the fact that I could possibly, or there is something here with me. I knew that my grandmother had the gift of seeing and speaking with spirits. So that, I think all of that kind of, as I got older, it frightened me. But it wasn't until, I got married, I had my own business, another business that took a lot of my time, a lot of my focus. I had a child, and life got busy. And it wasn't until I was divorced, I decided to close my business, and my child went away to college, that my life really stilled. And I was able to hear a lot more, focus a lot more. And that's when I went through the Great Awakening. I just didn't understand what was happening. I was like, am I going crazy? Why do I feel these things? Why do I feel confused? Why do I feel like I don't know which way I'm going? I feel lethargic. I feel like something's pulling me. And for years, it didn't all really fall into place until I took a vacation to Pensacola Beach. And I am a Cancer. I'm very much into my sign. I've always been pulled into the water, but I always had a fear of it. I'm definitely afraid of water. And I didn't understand it. When I was younger, I would have recurring dreams of drowning, of being in the sea, of being like, not of just a human, but like of being a part of the sea. Like I was able to flourish there, but it would frighten me because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm human. I don't understand these images. I don't understand these dreams. When I went to Pensacola, it all really fell together. I was there. I went to the beach. I got up at sunrise. I walked on the beach. It was very spiritual for me. And I would never before go into the water past my ankles. I mean, the water could come up on my feet and I was fine, but I actually would put myself in this particular trip. I actually went out into the water chest high, and I was like, this is different. And I knew something was clicking at the time. And it wasn't until I came home from the beach, and I was reading something on Instagram. It was talking about Yemenja. And it all just fell into place for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this goddess has been trying to reach me for years. She's been showing me little pieces of this and little pieces of that, and showing me this, and my infatuation with mermaids and the sea and shells and all of these things that I just had not put together. They were like little clues. And so once I put that all together, it was like the pieces of the puzzle just all fell. And I immediately understood, and I was not afraid anymore. And I began to really work with her through meditation, just through calling upon her for assistance, then bringing in my ancestors, bringing in my angel guides. And once I started to do that, I really became comfortable with everything around me, and understanding that this is the path that I was always supposed to be on. It was just those obstacles in life that we can't control because we are at the mercy of our parents and the mercy of our environment when we're younger. And if they want us to block it out, that's pretty much what we are conditioned to do. So it was that conditioning that I had to break down and really let sweep away before I was able to embrace what I truly am. And then I had to understand, like, what is it to be spiritual? What is it? What is a spiritual path? What is it to call yourself a witch? What are the boundaries? Are there any? So it took a lot of time for me to understand what the spiritual path really is, but it didn't frighten me per se about the journey. What frightened me is what I could see along the journey. And once my third eye opened, I could see so much more, sometimes things that I didn't want to see. Living here in New Orleans, there are spirits everywhere.
Yeah, bro.
Spirits are everywhere. I have seen some pretty menacing spirits, and it's very sad now that I have this education and experience. It's very sad to see them, and I'm no longer afraid. I don't give them that power, that energy. But first time I was terrified. Like, I just didn't know what to do. And I actually contacted, I had a session with Valeria, the Mexican witch, and she was just like, look, this is what it is. If you continue to feed that fear, they will be able to do things that you don't want to happen. So I learned how to deal with these things. And then once I got into my healing modality, I was able to learn how to protect myself. I learned about crystals and the power of working with crystals and how to protect and grid my home. I'm always wearing crystals. I keep them on me everywhere. I make jewelry that has intention and power and uses crystal energy. So it was a long road. I don't feel like I've been on my journey nearly as long, I guess, my awakened journey as most people, but I feel like I've been on this journey all my life because I was born with these gifts. I am a clairvoyant psychic medium. I can see things. I can hear things. I often smell things. And it's something that I have definitely learned to live with, but I don't allow it to make me scared anymore. And no, there's no fear in it. The only thing I ever fear is, something happening to a family member where I'm just going to have to really dive in and like rescue them from something that they don't even know that they have, or, and not fear of that I don't want to do it, but fear for them and their spirituality and how that will affect them, because not everybody is open to the idea of there being other things, other powers, other energies other than what they are conditioned to know. Yeah.
Right, because growing up, like you said, growing up in Louisiana, there's the inner family things that you learn within within your family, your household. It's like like you say, Catholic or Christian, Baptist, whatever you want to call it. It's like
Yeah.
God, Jesus, angels, heaven, hell, and that was pretty much about the extent of it. Then you saw
Right.
stories about Marie Laveau and Dr. John and and all of these individuals and voodoo and Africa and like,
Right.
oh, that's bad. When that's the devil. You don't do that.
Right.
Oh, that's
Right. Right. Exactly. And I think it's really interesting too, because in my immediate lineage, I have a lot of a mixture of culture. So, as of course, our family, we're descendants from Cuba through Haiti. So we have all of this like Latin magic, all this Latin power in our bodies. And then on my other side, I have my mother who is descendants from the Creek Indians. So I have a lot of Native American energy there as well. So I know one of my guys for sure is a Native American shaman. And so I feel pulled sometimes into really understanding, okay, is there like a label that I'm supposed to be doing with this energy, with this magic, with this work that I'm doing? Am I supposed to be like a bruja? Am I supposed to just be a witch? Am I supposed to be this? And honestly, it doesn't matter what you want to label yourself. It's the energy which matters, and calling upon your ancestors to be able to guide you into how to use these different energies and methods. I kind of have delved into a Native American energies. It's very powerful, but it's hard because I don't have any of my ancestors directly here to like physically be able to help me with what's happening today and how to apply those things sometimes in this energy in this climate. But whenever I get confused on things, they come through, and I don't even have to ask them. I've already made the general statement. I want to work with you. I want your help. I need your assistance. I need your guidance. And they just mosey on through whenever they feel it's necessary.
Right. Yeah, and that's one thing I had to learn. Was like sometimes these abilities it's like they're all like with my mediumship. I recently worked with somebody and like I hadn't done it in weeks, but it's like it's there when you need it.
Yes.
Like almost seeing the bat signal, and you throw on the costume, and then you go fight crime, or however it is you want to look.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, I can even, so I learned how to read just through picture. I could know nothing about you. All I need to do is see your picture.
Right.
And what comes through is what's important, what your spirit guides tell my spirit guides, and then tell me. And sometimes family members do come through and the energy can be really strong. Sometimes information about a past life will come through so that I can make you aware of what the issue even is. A lot of times with healing, 90% of the work is making the person know, like completely aware of the problem. Sometimes we carry things passed down from generations, unresolved oath vows and contracts that we aren't even physically aware of, that we're still carrying on our souls, on our energy. So 90% of this healing work is just making people aware of what the problem is, what the root of the matter is. And once I find that comes through, I'm able to tell. Like I could just be talking to some random stranger on Instagram and a message will come through like that. And I'm like, well, great. Now I have to like relay this information. And so I've developed a lot of tactful ways to relay information on an underlying way, because not everybody's going to be receptive to that. So sometimes, just planting the seed is what I like to do. And I feel comfortable enough to say, okay, well, I planted that seed. I'm good. I've done my job. But you never know when that information is going to come through. You never know when you're going to see things. Now I can turn it off. I can turn my abilities off to where I'm just kind of walking in a fog, but who wants to walk in a fog? I don't want to be that way. I spent, 20 some years of my life in a haze. I don't need to return to that haze. But I've learned, instead of turning it off, to really just learn how to protect myself and protect my own energy. And that works for me.
Yeah, I was talking to some people yesterday, and I was telling them how I was working this job in 2016, and when that's when a lot of my intuition and everything just really superly just kicked in, and
Right.
it was a real negative environment. And I told them it was almost like being thrown in the ocean and and
Mhm.
and almost drowning in a sense. Until
Right.
it got to the point where it was almost like your ancestors just turned it on. It was like, okay, well, sink or swim. You know what I mean? So I mean,
Mhm.
I had to learn how to swim that day. So I mean, yeah. So like you said, it's like ways that you can like turn it on, turn it off. But it's like you always you can keep your crystals on you, and you can
Mhm.
use Florida water and all of that other stuff. So
Mhm.
it's just ways that you can always stay protected.
Yes.
Especially what's happening nowadays with all these cosmic shifts and super moons and
Yeah.
solar this, and now you got the winds from the sand from the Sahara blowing this way.
The heroines.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was like, man, it would be really cool to have an hourglass with the sands in it, and here comes the wind. So yeah, it's just interesting, just the whole journey. So when we were speaking off camera, you telling me like some of the classes that you took and how it helped you to hone and go higher and to go deeper. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first class I took was a class on accessing the Akashic records. And the Akash is basically a library, a spiritual library of every energetic situation and memory. Your table has a record, your pen has a record, crystals have huge records. The class allows you to elevate to that dimension, tap in. It's ability that we all have. It's just there's no one that really teaches that in your home, so you don't know that you can access it. When you're going into the records, it's a place of complete white light. There is nothing, nothing dark there, nothing lower level vibrating. You can access anything. Sometimes loved ones will come through to the records. It's mostly angels there, but you can find out so much about anything and everything. You can ask business questions. You can ask questions about your past life, about anything. Now, what you can't do is access someone else's records without their permission. But anything that you want to find out about yourself. So I can go into our records as a family unit and find out things about our ancestors, ask them to come forth and assist me in things. It's a really great experience. And it's a skill that took a lot of time to learn because everybody gets information in a different way from the records. My teacher, she would feel into things where I hear. Being able to hear things is very big for me. That's my main clair, besides just being clairvoyant with the knowing. So I learned how to access the Akashic records. I did Akashic guide readings for a long time and was able to really master that skill. Then I I took a lesson in reading tarot, and I was able to combine tarot and the Akashic records, which really upped my game there. Although I still don't read well for myself because ego is always in the way. I can see basic things, but when it comes to complicated things, I'm still always wanting to believe what I want to believe. So my cards are like, don't even try it. Then I took a wonderful, amazing class with Alicia Hartzell. It's called Sacred Soul Alignment. It is where I learned how to connect. So there's the law of as above, so below, as within, so without. So what I do with Sacred Soul Alignment is I connect down to Gaia and bring her energy up, and then I connect into Creator and bring that energy down, and I am able to use the energy and the light of both to be able to see into the truth of many things and to feed off of that energy so that I'm not expending my own whenever I do healing work. So with Sacred Soul Alignments, we also have alignments that will assist and allow me to heal from the root of the matter of any situation. So if someone comes to me saying, I've been really feeling like I'm weighed down. I'm just crying all the time. I have a fear of going by this I don't know, well by our property that we've had for like 30 years or something like that, or 50 years or something. I can go and do healing work and go into their past life and see the root of why this well, why this area of the property, why is she feeling heavy? Why is she feeling like she can't get going? And I'm not asking like a general person, I'm actually going to Creator and I'm going to Gaia to find out why these things are happening. And then I can use whatever alignment that I need to use to assist and heal. Now, is it a like 100% quick fix, you're done? No, but it'll open the door to allow whoever's receiving the healing to be able to start that work, that shadow work within themselves. It also can reverse any oath, vows, contracts that her ancestors may have had 14 generations back. So I know a lot of times I've dealt with a couple of people who have had history going all the way back to Salem. And they had unresolved oath, vows, and contracts to never practice their craft, never practice their spirituality because they were so afraid. Once you lift those vows and once you release those contracts, people feel like their weight has been lifted and they're able to step forward and now continue the work that they need to do and continue on their path. So sacred soul alignment heals. So if anyone in your future, your grandchildren, your great-great-great-grandchildren have any issues with the same thing you're having, it's instantaneously healing them from that so that they don't even have to be born into that energy. It's a really powerful modality. It allows me to even go through and do clearings. So a lot of times people don't feel comfortable in their home. I can go through and clear their home without even really leaving my home. I can send this energy out to you. Also, if you have any type of portals, people don't realize you can actually have a physical portal on your body where maybe you have constant headaches. You don't understand why. I can go in and ask Creator, may I see the truth of why they have this problem? Other than it being medical issues ruled out, maybe you have an open portal to your head. Maybe you have an open portal to your shoulder where energy is just going in and out for whatever reason. It lifts that. I can close it and remove it, and send it to a level where it won't return. Dealing with entities. Sometimes viruses are entities. Illness is entities. Actual spirits being attached to your body, to your soul, to your energy. Many times you have to find the root of why they're there. You can send one away, but sometimes they'll come right back because the root of the matter of why they're there isn't really understood and dealt with. So with the sacred soul alignment, you're able to deal with the root of why you're having these issues, why you're having these feelings, why these energies are attached, why do you have a fear, and really go down into the root of the matter and heal. It's like a wound. You can put a Band-Aid over a cut, but if it begins to fester, what is a Band-Aid gonna do? So when I learned Reiki, it was great. I liked it. It works in many ways. I told you I use it on my cat all the time because she's absolutely insane most of the time. She's still a kitten. I use it on my mom's medications to help with bringing down any nasty side effects. I use it on myself sometimes when I just feel icky. But really for big major things where you're feeling like you just can't get moving forward, I really feel like my sacred soul alignment gets down to the root and doesn't just put a Band-Aid. It heals from the inside, from the soul, from the spirit, and that healing begins to shine through once the receiver does the work that they need to do for it.
So, like along your journey, maybe like in the beginning, have you ever asked the question like, "Why me?" You know, to have all of these gifts and to go through all of this stuff, and you know.
I did ask myself like why, what is the purpose? But when I really sat down and thought was young, like, I don't know, 3 or 4. And just always knowing like I'm different. There's something different about me, that I'm not like everybody else. I don't quite fit in. And always having this understanding in the back of my head that I'm here for something different. Like, I'm just different. I'm here for something more, and I'm just different. I didn't know at the time of what it was. And I spent my entire adult life being different and having a hard time fitting in with other people because my mind didn't work their way, or my personality didn't fit into their niche, or my thought process was completely off the charts of what I guess like I hardly went to prom. I didn't go to my junior prom at all because I could just care less. And I went to prom because my mom was like, well, you're my only daughter, and how am I going to have prom pictures? And, so I did things because I was forced to do them, not because I necessarily felt that they were important. So I've always been different. I just didn't really understand how that difference played through. And I think it's all about the life path that I chose. I chose to suppress gifts that I knew I had because I didn't know who to turn to share that information. I didn't know, like, my grandmother had passed when I was like 11 or 12, and she was the only one I had even known to be able to do anything special. My mother actually has gifts too, but she completely suppresses them, completely. Like, she chucks it up to whatever that sounds plausible at the time, but she refuses to acknowledge the fact that she has gifts. And I asked her, we had a conversation one time, and I said, Mom, I mean, have you never experienced this? I think this can't just come from nowhere. Like, this has to be more than just, oh, my grandmother has this gift. And the grandmother that I supposedly get it from is on my father's side. And she was like, well, once I did see my mom, because my mother's mother, my grandmother from her side, she passed away, but my mom was 17, so I've never met her. And my mom was like, well, I did see my mom walking through the house in a white dress. She said, my mom didn't own any white dress. So basically, my grandmother was astral projecting. But because nobody knew what that was, and she really didn't know what she saw, she chucked it up to, oh, I thought I was just dreaming. And I'm like, probably not. You probably were seeing her astral projecting, because at the time she had a stroke and she couldn't even walk. So there was no way she could be walking around the house in a white dress she didn't own. So I think once I was older and had the courage to say, where does this come from? Like, we need to have this discussion because I need to understand what I am. Like, I spent, I think, maybe 6 months just saying, what am I? What am I? Am I a witch? Am I I don't know, am I crazy? Do I have a brain tumor? Should I get MRIs? I spent a lot of time really just trying to be sure about putting myself into this box. And then once I got onto a certain level, I realized there's no box needed. There is no box needed for what we have. Yes, I'm a witch. Yes, I consider myself a bruja. Yes, I consider myself spiritual. Yes, I consider myself a healer. I think you can be all of those things. And I think by not having a family that embraced that energy, it was very, very difficult for me. And I did ask, well, why? Why do I have to be so different? Now with my daughter, who's highly empathic and sensitive, I'm able to guide her through all of these different things that she's experiencing. And I'm glad I am now awake enough to do that, because I can only imagine being far from home at college and seeing things and hearing things and feeling things and not knowing why, and feeling like you're going absolutely insane. So I always knew that there was something more, but I just didn't know what that more was. And I knew I was supposed to touch people in so many ways. I mean, if you can remember, I started off singing. I thought that was supposed to be my thing. I thought I was supposed to be a singer. And my path just changed one day, and I was like, no, that's not what I'm supposed to do. It's not it. And everybody's like, well, I don't understand. Why you have this talent? Yes, but that's not my only talent.
Yeah, I remember those questions being asked, like, way back in the day. I remember you singing at it was like a football game or something like that, and you were the national anthem.
Yeah, I was singing everywhere.
like record contracts and, you know,
Yeah.
people like.
Yeah. I mean, I was on the radio. I had a commercial on the radio for local rappers, and I would sing at football games, and I would sing at you know, talent shows, and I got into Noka, and then all of a sudden I woke up and I was just like, this is not it. This is not the journey I'm supposed to have. I don't know why. I just know I'm not supposed to do it. And that was it. And everybody was so angry, and I was just like, it's my life. I mean, I don't know where I'm going, but I know this is not it. So there's been a lot of things that has played with my head and opportunities. And I'm just like, why didn't I do that? Or maybe I chose wrong, or maybe I did this. And at the end of the day, there is no coincidences. There are no really wrong choices. It's just about many, many paths getting to the same place. And I finally arrived at what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm constantly evolving. I'm changing my career again now to further put healing energy out into the world. And I think what's important for people to know is that being a healer doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a nurse or a doctor, or you're out here like, you know, creating miracles. Being a healer sometimes is just saying that one thing someone needs to hear. You may not even know that you're saying it, but it's that one thing someone needs to hear because you feel intuitively driven to say it, and that saves or changes their lives. That's it. For me, that's all being a healer is. And a lot of times, even at work, people come up to me and I'm like, I don't even know you. Why are you telling me this? But that's what being a healer is. When you have that intuition, people are just hit you like magnets. You're like, well, hello. I mean, you never talked to me before, but I'll sit here and listen.
Right. People just tell you that. I know. People just tell you their whole life story. Like, oh.
Yes. Yes.
Sharon.
Yeah. I mean, it always has happened to me all my life. And I'd be like, no, I didn't make any kind of social cue that I was interested in a conversation. But okay, I'll sit here and listen. And then I put my 2 cents in, and I've actually had people say, oh my God, thank you so much for listening or telling me that. That's like what I needed to hear. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, so I think it's important for like people to understand that your spirituality is your spirituality. How you practice, there's no right or wrong way. The order you do it in, there's no right or wrong way. I work with Yemenia. I don't work with any of the Orishas. I haven't gotten there yet. I think that deities pick us. I don't think that we always necessarily pick them. I mean, I think we can choose to work with them, but I think when you're meant to be with one, they choose you and they let you know. I mean, I have gotten Isis energy before, and it hasn't come back. I think it's kind of like a seed. I'm going to plant it here, and then when it's time, I'm going to reemerge and resurface and work with you. I talk to people in the spiritual community all the time, baby witches especially, and they're just like, I just don't know what to do. I just don't know. I don't understand how to get started. I don't know. And I'm like, just get one book. Go to the bookstore and let your fingers fall. And if it feels right, feel it. Feel into it. If it feels right, that's where you start. That's it. That's all you can do. And ask for discernment, because everybody out here on the internet is... I won't say that they don't have gifts, but they are not multiplying their knowledge in a way that it's helpful or it gives back to the community. It often is misled and driven by tainted motivations. So you know, you just have to use a lot of discernment in who you work with and who you choose and which ways you follow, and that's it. Now, there is an amazing bruja. Her name is Karina Del Peso. She is my mentor. She has a course now called 13 Months of Magic, where she takes you from the very beginning all the way up to the very end. I work with a lot of lunar magic. That is the basis of my my actual conjuration is with the moon. And she's amazing. I would recommend her to anybody because she has nothing but good intentions to lead you with white light, white intentions. But let's face it, you can't have light without dark. And a lot of people want to be, oh, I'm love and light, and that's great. but there is a darkness within all of us that tends to show its ugly head from time to time. And she teaches you about that too. She doesn't teach you how to do dark magic, but she does speak upon the shadow work of that we all have to do. So at this point, when I went through my whole ascension that I just came out of, a lot of it was doing the shadow work that I needed to do upon myself and fixing the parts that I don't want to look at every day and the parts that I didn't want to acknowledge. And that has been truly beneficial to reaching the next level, because no one can stop you but you. And that it's as simple as that. And looking into those places where you don't want to look, and accepting and changing and recognizing where the work needs to be done, and actually committing every single day to doing something to improve that. That's a part of being elevated. That's a part of getting better. That's a part. You can do all the meditation you want, but if you don't look into the place that you don't want to go, you're never going to go any higher than where you are. And that's what I've spent the past, like 5 months doing, and trying to improve and trying to be better for others, be better so that I can serve. I walk in service to the divine, and I can't do that if my ego is pushing me down over things that don't even matter. So I think it's important. I think it's important that people recognize that, there's no right or wrong way to work. There's no label that you need to put on yourself. You're not crazy. You did hear it. You're not crazy. You did see it. It is there. There are many levels of spirituality that, energy can go through, energy can manifest itself into. So, I think it's important that people just understand, especially who are going through that great awakening, you're not crazy. And that's what I think a lot of us feel is like we're crazy. And we're not. We're not crazy. We're just awakening.
That's why I'm kind of glad this is, a lot of it happened, some of it happened in my 20s and, going a little bit further into now. So kind of glad it happened like when I was on my own, instead of like being a kid and saying like, oh, I hear this, oh, I see that. Because I remember that movie Constantine, and he was like, he was on the bus and he would see all of these, whatever he was seeing. And he said, my parents did what any other parents did. They made it worse. They said they had him psychiatrically evaluated and, all of that good stuff.
Yes, exactly. And that's the way I felt, very, very stifled. And even though when I would know things, who do you tell when your mother doesn't believe in that? Who do you tell when your family doesn't believe? And of course, like my father's an ordained minister. Like, what do you do with that? My mom's a staunch Catholic. My dad's an ordained minister. My grandparents are heavily into the church. There was no one to talk to about it. So I'm very glad. And again, nothing happens by coincidence. Everything happens for a reason when it does. So I'm glad that I was able to have that time of peace, so that I can open and blossom like a flower, because without it, you can't hear. Like, the calling is always there. If you're being called, it's always there. It's just the noise of the everyday that drowns it out. It's the noise of the conditioning that you had as a child. It drowns it out. It's not until either you have, and even when I had, my illness, it didn't particularly call to me. I didn't have like an existential crisis of religion or awakening. It wasn't until my mind and soul stilled and realized there's no other distraction. That's when I received the calling, and it was right on time, because I didn't have to worry about getting my daughter off to school or doing this. All I had to worry about was me and taking care of me and understanding me. It's not like that for everybody, but for me and my timing, I think it was absolutely perfect. And then it was just a matter of, okay, now what? Now what do I do? So when I know we hadn't spoken, we would speak, but I mean, we never spoke on a level of spirituality. So when I found out that you were very much experiencing a lot of the same things, I was like, oh, thank God.
Before I started talking to you, like you said, like you're having these experiences, and even people who are like close to you, I could talk to my homeboy, but But other than that, it's like nobody else in the family, everybody else is like a deacon or a preacher, or, if it's not something like, oh, okay, well, I need prayer, or, I just need something like that, other than that, you can't go and talk to them about, the Orisha, I had a dream about, my cousin in Egypt, and,
Right. They'd be like, what? And it's tough. It's really tough. But like I was at my mom's yesterday actually, and I told her, I was like, I had a dream about Mommy, and that's her oldest sister who passed away. And she was like, why does she keep coming to you? I was like, I don't know, but she'll come again. Like, I can't, sometimes when I awaken from a dream and it's abruptly, I don't catch the message. And I said, I don't know, but it'll come again. And she's like, well, you're so calm about it. I was like, I mean, what am I supposed to do? If she wants me to know and it's supposed to be in my conscious mind, she will come again. She'll come again. And she's like, why do you always dream about our family members that are passed? I'm like, because that's how I can't deal with seeing spirits face to face. I don't want to see them. So they come to me when my conscious mind is asleep and my subconscious mind is awake and open. And that's how I really receive a lot of immediate messages from people that I know, like family members, is in my sleep. Now, when spirit comes through with whatever they got to say, they just barge in. They don't care what's going on. But that's always third eye vision, or, hearing with my clair. But when I sleep, I see, I hear, I smell, everything's at once, and I'm really able to take it in wholly and without any interruption for the most part. So my mom's like, and I'll tell her, I'm like, hey, I had a dream about this, and da 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 da. And she'd be like, I don't understand, why do you keep dreaming about these? I'm like, you're still in denial. You have to understand, I have these gifts, I have these abilities. And so, it can still be tough. And I don't talk to anybody else really in the family about it because, well, I just don't think that they would understand. I do sometimes say things to my dad, and he'll question, and he'll be like, but he, thinks that I'm some sort of dark witch, stereotypical voodoo priestess. I don't even know what. I just, whatever.
Right. Like, one of my cousins was, he's a minister. He was like, devil worship and blah, blah, blah. And, like, what God do you serve? I'm like, man, come on. Like, well, where's your faith at? Cause you know what I mean? Like, seriously, that's what like, some people, it's like some people you just can't, some people you just can't have that conversation with. That, and I just chalked it up as to, just let it be what it is. And, we still cool. We could just talk about baseline life stuff. And, if you want to talk about God, I can still talk about that, or angels or whatever, but the other stuff, we'll just leave that alone.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I just, in everything I do, people are like, I have tattoos and moons, and people are like, what does this even mean? Like, what? And I'm just like, listen, you have your way of practicing your spirituality. I have my way. I said, I don't do religion, but I'm spiritual. So, if you want to talk about God, that's fine. I mean, we can talk about God, but don't expect me to talk about God and not talk about Gaia, or don't talk about, other things that come along with it. Cause I'm going to give you an honest discussion. I'm no longer the one that's going to water down my beliefs for anybody else to make them feel comfortable. But I'm kind of like you. I just avoid it if I need to.
Right. Like different strokes. Like we were talking about some of these groups and how toxic they can be with like the younger generation. And like, it's a lot of cookie cutter. They might say, "Ooh, I can do this," or blah, 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 and I'm going to hex this person, and the baby daddy mama, and blah, and this and that. And, just, right. Just out there, just wilding out in a sense.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that comes from, back in the day, and I've had visions of this, of learning the craft. You had someone in your village or someone in your family that was immediately attached to the craft, and you were able to almost be an apprentice under them and learn from the base on up. today we have the internet and Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram and the millennials and some of the other older practitioners, they want it fast. They see this person over here making my favorite thing. What is it called? The yoni oils, yoni.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started. So I'm like, okay. Before we go putting things into our bodies, can we really know where this stuff is coming from?
Right. Right. Like you said,
they want to just make the dollars.
Right. Like you said,
they want the
dollars. Now, if you're called to do something, hey, that's a little different. But don't go out there doing something, like that. Like I said, there's a difference between people who can, look at a deck of cards and see the base meaning of it. Like the Wheel of Fortune is blah blah blah, and then those are those who can see beyond the veil and relationship and really, talk to your ancestors and your angel guides and all of that stuff.
Absolutely. And that's my daughter was asking me about reading tarot, and I was like, I can teach you, but in teaching you, it's mostly the general aspects of it. And so the first thing I had her do was go through every card and write down what the card means to her, what it makes her feel like before she even read anything about them. Because ultimately, it's about your intuition. Mm-hmm. And I can pull, like when I read, I can pull up to 15 or 20 cards just by the way that I read and get a totally different reading than like my friend who reads differently. She might only pull 7 cards and get a totally different message. It's not about necessarily is it right or wrong. It's about the message that comes through for me to you, for you. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes people, they're like, oh, I want to read tarot, I want to give readings and blah, blah, blah. And that is great. But even with tarot, it was like a light. I literally had a shift. No, I think it was when I had my first big ascension. I was so sick. I didn't know what was happening to me. I had to reach out to my friend Karina, and I was like, what is going on? I have chills like I have a flu. I have body aches all over. I'm exhausted and sleeping all the time. What is happening to me? And she was like, well, do you have a fever? I was like, no, I went to the doctor. I'm fine. I was going through an ascension. It was like being hit by a truck. It was really, really hard. And I would not have known, and I couldn't get out of the ethers. I was constantly in the clouds, constantly on the other side. Just my friend kept saying, where are you? Because she was living with me at the time, and she's highly empathic. And she was like, I'm talking to you. You're not even here. And I'm like, what? Like, I was just literally in the ethers all the time. I couldn't get balance. I couldn't ground myself properly. And excuse me. And finally, once it passed, I was able to read tarot. No problem. I had been struggling and trying to get it and trying to get it. Suddenly, it all just fell into place. It all just, it's like it just opened up to me. So yeah, I can teach you how to read it, but that's general meanings. It's the spirit that calls to you. It's the cards that call to you. And so, a lot of times I'll go into these.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just like everybody has a different spiritual gift or gifts. Like some people have it, some don't. That's just what it is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Like, I have a friend who does readings by pendulum. I use a pendulum for me. I also use it as a tool to discern whether or not I'm in someone else's Akashic records, if they give me permission to go in. But that's it. Pendulum can't tell me things that I need to really know, like a deck of cards. And honestly, if I don't want to use the cards, I can really move them to the side and just go straight into working with spirit. But I like to see and have a full picture, because I feel like the cards give me more of a past, present, future, and what the outcome is going to be, versus just sometimes people like, what is it like speaking to a spirit? I'm like, it's not like having a conversation back and forth. I get bits and pieces, and it goes so fast. Sometimes I have to ask to repeat. So the cards give me a much broader expanse of what's going on in the reading. But I'll look at these people online or on YouTube, and I'm just like, now, who do they think they're fooling with that? Because that don't even look like nothing is happening. Like, you know what I mean? And I think what's interesting too is for the fraudulent folks out there, like they don't understand. You're speaking to people in the spiritual community who can see that you're lying. Right. So,
man, I'll look at
you know what I mean? Like,
I'll be like, oh hell no. And these people have big. I mean, like a lot of people have like big, like thousands and thousands of people following, and I'm be like, man, ain't no way in the world.
Yeah, I don't get it. And I think, you know, everybody has a place and everybody has a purpose. So I'm just going to chuck it up to the universe. They're a tool for something. They are a tool for a lesson. They are a tool for something. And maybe every now and then something comes out that's useful. I don't know. But I do know that when we have a gift and we are truly using and pulling for our gifts, sometimes we have to take that time for ourselves. And you can truly see when someone is speaking from the heart and speaking from spirit and speaking from their soul and are genuine. And I think that's what I use when I find different followers or different spiritual leaders and things like that, and they're speaking, and that's what I look for. I ask for the discernment. I'm like, okay, is this somebody I should be following? Is this someone who can bring me to the next level? Mm-hmm. I know when I found Karina, I did spell work for it, and I was like, I need a teacher. Bring forth the teacher because this girl needs it, you know. And I think even with like you see all these videos about manifestation, and some people do such elaborate work, and others are just like, that's not what I do at all. I mean, I think I have my own ritual for it. It's not always elaborate. I mean, sometimes it can be. I think what people really fail to understand is that, like, it's what you feel. It's what you feel called to do. I mean, there are many, many, many full moons where I'm sitting on my sofa with popcorn and wine, and I'm not doing a damn thing. I'm like, full moon ritual. You know? You don't have to do something every single time the moon changes, or you have to do what you feel called to do. And that's so, so, so important. Following your heart, following what you're intuitively led to feel. And led to do. That's so important, and that will always, like, your intuition will always lead you in the right direction. If people could just trust in and follow their intuition, they would be 100% better than following the next person, or what someone on YouTube says, or what someone on Instagram says, or whatever. Like, hear it and take it in, but always make your own choices for yourself, because ultimately this is your journey, and you have to make, you know, those decisions about how it's going to best suit you and what you want your journey to be about.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost like you know, when I was doing, you know, martial arts and all that good stuff, you know, it's like so many different styles. So like there's just so many different things of variations of spirituality. And it's like, even now I feel like the lines are so like kind of blurred. So it's like you can take a little bit from here, from there. And a lot of it is about your lineage, you know, and mm-hmm. what you're connected to. And, you know, you yes. have your different ancestors coming in at different times because you're learning different things. And yes. then you have different, you know, maybe Orisha or different deities from all of these different spiritual systems, you know, just, mm-hmm. you know, coming at you for, you know, for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know, like we talked about this before about having a strong connection to Egypt. Mm-hmm. And I can remember when I was younger, having the draw, like I've always been drawn to all things Egypt. I want to wanted to visit there so badly up until things just got so crazy with travel and COVID and stuff.
I was like, I go.
Always been. I was like, there has to be some, like, there's something. I had books on reading hieroglyphs, and I did, like, I was literally in college doing history as a major. Like, I wanted to be a docent in the museum because I was just like, I've got to get this. I've got to get close to it, and never understood why. But now I know I have had past lives in Egypt. I have ancestors in Egypt. It makes complete sense. So I think just being able to know that you have these connections strengthens how you practice, and what helps you to understand what pulls you into different things when you practice. Like I said, I haven't started working with any of the Egyptian gods except for Isis. I do acknowledge her, but she hasn't really come to me to really work through me yet. And that's okay. When the time comes and I'm ready, that'll happen. But I think it's important to know that connection is there so that you're more open and receptive to these things when they do happen. And you're not just like, why is this happening to me? I'm sure there are things that are going to continue to happen that that'll throw me for a loop. I'm by no means an expert. I'm very much a baby at all this. Mm-hmm. But I feel like being open, understanding your lineage, understanding where you come from and what's in your background, and being open for your ancestors to come to you and say, hey, you didn't know this, but I'm also a part of your blood too, is an amazing thing. And it can only make you more powerful in your work, and more flexible as to what comes in and how you can use your own power.
Right. Like a lot, like for me, I never really had like, mentors, you know what I mean? But
mm-hmm.
I always just had my ancestors. They've come in and helped me a lot. I meet little people here and there that'll introduce me to a certain way. They'll do it, and I'll just kind of figure it out from there, So I've never really had, I've asked for it now, recently, and I'm sure those people will start coming in. But
yes,
so it's, but just saying that everybody's spiritual journey is going to be different. It's going to be unique, and just try to enjoy it and just take it one day at a time.
Yes, and that is absolutely it. One day at a time. I mean, like I said, and I think the pressure of doing things every single full moon or every single solstice or that is unrealistic. We live in a modern day where, unfortunately, well, once we're out of this COVID situation and being so sedentary, but normally, like, we're busy. We're busy people. So sometimes carrying one crystal, lighting a candle, and saying a little prayer is all you can do. Sometimes you have big intentions for these big elaborate things. I'm going to do this cleansing scrub. I'm going to do a soak. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to journal. I'm going to light a candle. I then fell asleep. The whole full moon didn't miss me. You know what I mean? It's just, and I think I used to have guilt about that. And I think it's important for people to know, like, it's okay. It's okay. But to modify our practices for today, and to just pick up a book and just start somewhere, even if it's just on candle magic and the colors and the meanings of the candles. I do create intention candles. I don't always color them. Sometimes I'll use ribbon to signify the color. White can go for anything that you need. So a lot of times I'll just use white and just do a ribbon color or something to help with that. I think it's important to just really educate yourself as much as you can, and know that there are good people out here. There are good spiritual workers out here. It's just a matter of finding them. Not everybody is about making the dollar or having the followers or being popular. It's not all about that. There are workers out here. You just have to find the ones that are willing to really share, and not just share knowledge, but share their experiences, because I think it's a lot easier knowing that okay, well, I astral projected and I have no idea how or why that happened, but it's okay because I have a cousin who can do it and I'm just going to call him. I mean, I think it's so much more manageable And it's a better experience when you know that you have people like your tribe, your people that can back you up and say, okay, well, that happened. The next time do this, the next time do that. Or if you don't want it, lock yourself down, hold yourself down, use these crystals. I think that's important. So everybody's journey is definitely going to be different. And all I can say is like, just try to understand that the journey will never end. There's never an end to the journey. It's just progressing more and more, and try to enjoy the ride while you're on it, because it's something that I never thought that it would happen to me. I never thought that I would be here for anything more than just the basic human things that we all do. And it's really cool to understand that, like, I'm different because I am something different. My energy is something different. My presence is something different. Everybody can't handle it, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. That doesn't make me a bad person. That just makes me more different. So
Right. Now, I always tell people, hey, you know what? I'm not everybody's cup of tea. That's cool. I'm good with that. I'm at peace with that. I always say, go where the love is. You know what I mean? go where the love is.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I just wanna thank my amazing cousin. So if you guys need that spiritual work, and she's not just an amazing spiritualist, she's a great person, and also she's a great artist. Like she said, she she does the candles, the Akashic records, she does readings, and so many other things. There's so many other things that are yet to come that we'll talk about later. But we'll talk about all that stuff. But anyway, I just want to thank her. In closing, I just want you to tell people where you can be found, like on social media and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram. I think you're gonna go ahead and put that link in the bio or in the below. Yeah. You can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. I'm more heavily on Instagram, but you can definitely find me there. If you have any questions, anything that you want to talk about, feel free to always DM me. It is a safe place. I am very inclusive to everyone. So it's a safe place. Say you need advice, you need questions, whatever you have, feel free to just hit the DM and I'm right there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and bring this thing to a close. But again, thank you guys so much for joining us on Soulful Conversations while we bring the most amazing guests from around the world. And as always, folks, we have this peace. Peace.